On the second night of a back-to-back, the Warriors ended a 7-game losing streak to the Clippers by impressively shutting down the best shooting team in the NBA to under 80 points. I wanted to break down starting center Quinten Post team leading plus 34 night with elite two-way play, countering the big man Zubac on offense and showing a couple tricks he's learned to be a real defensive option. So let's break it down. QP was put in to start the game instead of old man Al Horford, and he might have learned a couple things from him. The goal is to counter the big Clippers as a stretch 5 and bring Zubac out of the paint and in an uncomfortable area out on the perimeter. Post and Steph run a pick and roll here, and the Clippers want to ice this towards the sideline to avoid Curry from using the middle of the floor to attack. With Jones Jr. on the side and Zubac in a high show, Post has to counter by popping out to the top of the arc. Steph keeps his dribble alive to wait for better spacing before lasering behind the back pass right to Post. This makes it a much longer closeout for Zubac, and Post gets a wide open 3 and knocks it down. Quinten Post started out a bit hot, and this matchup only works if Post can stand his ground defense, but especially knock down perimeter shots. On a fast break, Steph loves to dribble towards an opposing big man, often using them as screens on their own defense. He knows he has so much shooting gravity that Zubac cannot leave him, but at the same time, he was always going to look for Post on the trail since he already made one three-pointer. Curry turns around to throw it back to an open QP, Zubac does not even want to come out, and Post is heating up. Post got thrown into the fire mid last season, but he was always just a second round rookie not expecting to get minutes. His main issue in last year's playoffs was his inability to stop fouling and guard the paint. Here on the handoff by the Clippers, Harden is allowed to attack with a strong left hand and target QP. With Kuminga chasing from behind and Post in a drop coverage, he has his hands up to prevent the pull-up while knowing Harden is looking to drive to the paint. He actually calls for Kuminga to switch to the big man to prevent the roll pass here, and Post keeps both hands straight up knowing Harden likes the foul bait, absorbs the contact and waits for the decel before using a 7-foot frame to block the shot the last second. That is an incredible defensive play and a great sign to come. He will never be mobile on the perimeter in my opinion, but he's starting to use his height more intelligently. Chris Dunn gets by Moody and Post rotates from the dunker spot to contest his shot. He stays on his feet and predicts a dump-off pass to John Collins. Here he rotates back to Collins and forces him to dribble along the baseline instead, then simply keeps his hand up to contest him into a tough fadeaway hook shot. Fantastic stop. All of these defensive highlights will not show up on the stat sheet, but they are crucial to Steve Kerr trusting him as a backup center. Look at CP3 directing traffic and telling Kawhi to target Post. He's gotten him in ISO, but Post purposely shades him towards the baseline, trusting that he has Warriors teammates behind him to help. Both Butler and Potts immediately come to shade, dissuading Leonard from taking him to the basket and instead settling for a step back 3. Post uses a 7-foot length to contest into another miss. Here's another one. Post is in a drop coverage on Collins one pass away. Let's just keep it simple. Even though Collins has been shooting well the last couple years, you will take him shooting a 3 this early in the shot clock with another contest. Golden State will absolutely live with that. I can't stop relishing these defensive highlights. Once again, none of these will show up on the box score, but there's a reason he led the team with an impressive plus 34 plus minus. Collins thinks he can take the big man on the baseline drive, but QP surprisingly slides his feet well and pressures him almost out of bounds. Way to use your strength, big man. Then at the last minute gives him a nice shove. Butler closes out to the weak side corner, so Collins has to toss it up into a turnover. Defense into offense, and Pods gets an easy fast break bucket. Another potential improvement is his ability to set good screens. He's clearly got a huge body, but here on the Warriors triple split action, the Clippers miscommunicate by having both Batum and Jones Jr. double Steph on the first screen. Harden notices it and switches with Batum out to Curry, so now they trap Steph on the perimeter. QP perfectly pops out to open space, and Steph finds him for another open 3. This is a great read and react offense. This might have been my favorite defensive highlight of the night. Harden and Zubac want to target Post and set a pick and roll at the logo. Post aggressively traps Harden, pressuring him to pass it to the short roll. The Clippers now have a 4-on-3 advantage on the backside, but Jimmy first comes to switch on the big man. Steph now momentarily has a 2 weak side Clippers, but Zubac is not the best passer or decision maker this far from the basket. Look at Quinten Post calling for the peel switch, and Zubac thought he was passing to a wide open Jones Jr., but instead QP gets a steal. Tremendous defensive possession here. QP also showed a lot of discipline last night. On another ISO by Kawhi, Post is playing a drop coverage and giving him room to shoot, but Leonard decides to work on his bag into a push dribble, then tween. Focus on Post not jumping on the shot fake and sliding his feet well, and at the last minute still contests Kawhi into a pull-up midi. We know Kawhi would generally make these, but this is still pretty solid defense in my opinion. Lastly, Post's ability to shoot open shots off Warrior double teams will do wonders for the offense. Jimmy gets doubled here, and with Draymond cutting, this forces Kawhi to pick him up, and Harden's responsible for the 2 weak side dubs. Butler loves jumping in the air to make a pass and fakes out Harden, who X's out to the weak side corner. QP's wide open, but he's not going to see much contest as a big man and drains a rainbow triple. There you guys have it. On the second night of a back-to-back, the Warriors end a 7-game skid against the LA Clippers by holding one of the league's best offenses to under 80 points, and it was Quinten Post setting the tone. A team leading plus 34, knocking down threes, battling Zubac inside, communicating coverages, and contesting everything at the rim. That's big time two-way impact for a second-year center still carving out his role. You could feel his confidence growing each possession, spacing the floor, making quick decisions, and anchoring the backline with real physicality and discipline. Huge win here, great identity builder overall, and a statement from the postman as the last line of defense. If Golden State keeps defending like this, they'll have a shot every night against the West's best big men. If you guys like this breakdown, like and subscribe to see more.